Sego? Good afternoon and welcome to yet another broadcast from Kelvin on Ethel Seventh-day Adventist Church. My name is Naye Lupondwana. This is our introductory broadcast for the year 2021 in the afternoon, where we are advancing yet the agenda of learning, whether you are at home or wherever you are, trying to familiarize yourself with the things that you ought to know. Our conversations in the afternoon going on forward will be focusing mainly on you and what your bother is. Whatever it is that bothers you in terms of your life. It could be, and it most probably will be, faith-based or faith-oriented, but we have assembled a panel of guests who will be giving you some perspective, some guidance, some opinions, and almost all the times we'll be taking those questions from you. Joining me now in the platform up here is a number of people. You can be one of those people. Perhaps you'd like to join in and ask our guests some questions again that are pertinent to your faith, so that you too can be able to be comfortable with whatever is bothering you. First, I'm going to introduce you to my co-host Utandi Balfo, who will be leading in the weeks to come with another host and another host, and you'll be seeing less of me. Tandi, good afternoon. Thank you very much for allowing us to use you.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you, and greetings to everyone at home. So I'm excited about this platform that we've created here, because there are those questions that you sit with at home and you think, I can't find direct answers. I can't say this verse directly addresses it. And I do want to be a good Christian, but I also want to be realistic to my life where it is right now. So for example, now some of those questions is really, sometimes I sit and I ponder, as a woman, why do I bother? I mean, if I read the Bible as a woman, seriously, it's not flattering. And so why should I bother? Why can't I just sit at home and live my life and do what I want? Because the way the Bible positions women is not really, it's not encouraging. So those are some of the questions, or questions I'm thinking like, okay, God, this is again now me. I'm in my 40s. I've never been married. What's up with that, right? And I can't put it anywhere, because then you're going to get all these nwele answers that are not addressing the loneliness and the thirst there at home at the moment. And I'm like, who do I talk to about those? So those are the type of questions we want you to throw out. What's the thing that's sitting in your heart at the moment that you really are struggling with? And you think, I don't want just a verse to address it. I want a real practical answer that's going to still help me maintain my Christianity, but it's also going to feel realistic to the life and where I am right now.
Indeed.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's where we are. And we're going to introduce you to now our guests. In fact, they're going to tell us also the things that are on their minds as well. Right next to me, we have Ngono. So Ngono is going to tell us, she's laughing because I'm using the word Ngono. That's a special word, a name for her father. And I heard her father calling her, and I thought, I'm going to use that name. Ngono, welcome, and thank you very much for agreeing to talk to us here. So tell us, first of all, who you are. Just give us an idea of who you are. And you can perhaps share with us what's on your mind, what perhaps we should look at in the coming weeks.
Thank you so much. So my name is Ngobile Ngwenya. I'm a pastor's daughter. So a lot of my questions will be around, for instance, I didn't choose the ministry, my father did. But why am I judged on the same level as a pastor? More of my other questions would be more of, single female. Is it okay for me as a single person to now marry a divorced person? Because it seems there's a lot more divorced single guys in the church than single guys who don't have children, for instance. So is that still okay? Is it okay to be active in church and being divorced? Will that be frowned upon for dating a divorced guy? Also, if I do finally get married, does the church care or have advice on whether I should get married in community of property, out of community of property? And then as a woman, should I, for instance, if I earn more than my man, how do I then tackle those type of issues? So a lot of my issues will be career orientated and being a single woman.
And by the way, you're a legal practitioner, aren't you?
And I'm a legal practitioner.
Admitted attorney.
Admitted attorney.
Yes.
So that's another thing. Is it okay for me to stand in court or defend a person who's accused of being a murderer?
Yes.
Or especially in these days, somebody who has raped a woman in this day and age. How do I differentiate my religion and my career?
Yeah.
So,
Okay, that's going to be interesting. I was making that point because she made mention of in community of property, out of community of property. All those things we'll be hearing from her as she deliberates from her research, her understanding, her insights. Also, Pastor Ngos is joining us here. Pastor, please introduce us to the perspective and the dimension you'll be approaching these conversations, and perhaps share one or two of your concerns.
Thank you very much. I have a number of concerns, but I will not, in this session, discuss all of them. One of my major concerns is that we have been thrust into a faith, the Christian faith, that has a text that was supposed to have been written by people who are not of my ethnology, but the research has shown, and they know, that the text does not belong to Caucasians, but to Afro-Asians, particularly Africans. And that the whole history of the Bible, from creation up to the end of the book of Revelation, is about us more than about them. This is one of my issues in recent years. And I think we need to provide answers in a post-COVID South Africa to young people and elders who are asking questions about the authenticity and validity and efficacy of the Christian faith. Should they sell themselves to Christianity or to something other than Christianity, or a variation thereof? These are some of the questions I hope we shall find answers to in these sessions. Thank you.
Masande, deal with Umdalapa because I'm noticing he's got notes. I feel intimidated.
This is Mandla Msimang, by the way, one of the elders here, and one of the people that we know is very scholarly and well-read. If you want anyone to quote history for you and reference, this is a person that you go to. So, Mandla, what are some of the things that you envisage in these discussions? What are some of the things that you actually say, or what are some of the topics you would like people to raise and some that you want to raise?
Sure. I think maybe before we even go to the topics, I think maybe a context is also needed here. You know, there's this one Canadian blogger which I'm really following quite a lot these days. Her name is Anne Foskamp. And I like one of her quotes, and it goes, shame dies when stories are told in safe spaces. Shame dies when stories are told in safe spaces. Now, the Christian faith is not a very safe space to tell any story. Now, if you want to be judged, if you want to be singled out and crucified more like Christ, tell a story to a Christian community. That's one sure way of hastening your demise. So how, therefore, do we, within the Christian faith space, start creating those spaces where we can talk about anything without fearing for our lives? Can I talk about sexuality freely within the church? Can I talk about relationships, any kind of relationships, and how they impact me within the Christian faith? Can I talk about my relationship with God, who God is? Can I question God without people feeling that ngihlubukile? Can I question the church, how it works, the system called church, and its relevance to my salvation, and its relevance to God himself, without people feeling that I'm actually ngihlubukile? Can I talk about politics and what it means, and what does politics mean in the context of life and in the context of Christianity? Can I align my politics to my life as a Christian? Can I talk about finances? Why is it that it seems in my mind that the poor will only inherit in heaven and never on earth? What is it which attracts the downtrodden to this thing called religion? Maybe Karl Marx was right, I don't know. Because somehow it seems that the further away you are from the poverty line, you don't need God. Religion is irrelevant. What is it? What about health? Why is it that, I have all the money, I have everything, but I do not have health? How does God determine these things? The meaning of life, destiny, generational issues. I mean, the list is endless. My point is, Tandy, I want us to be able to talk about radical, real life issues openly. Let's talk and within a safe space and answer real questions like you posed.
Well, but Mandla, the question that may rise is, to what end? I mean, as right the way we are, shouldn't we just wait for Jesus to come? Why open a can of worms that is a slack maybe later on when it actually comes up? Because there must be a reason why these questions are not addressed.
Yeah, you see, and that's really where I have a problem. So where religion is used as an opium of the people. In other words, you should suffer peacefully in earth because there's a kingdom which is coming. And that's not, according to my reading of the word of the scripture, what God intends for us. Maybe that's what the church intends for us, but definitely not what God intends for us.
Hey,
Can I volunteer
Go ahead,
a
Omri.
response? I think we need to come to a point as African Christians within the Adventist Church where we will openly admit that we have inherited a biblical system covered in a European raincoat. It is wearing Europeanness, but is not in itself a European faith. And this is the major crisis facing all Africans in Africa, which gave birth to what we call, as far back as 1715, in the Congo, for instance, African independent churches. Because they felt that they believed God, they were theistic, and they were monotheistic, by the way. Africans have never been multitheistic. 103 languages, for instance, in Africa called Saturday, Sabado, which confirms the fact that God created the world in 6 days and rested on the Saturday, It is European pagans who came here and taught us that there's no such thing as Sabbath. The Sabbath rest was transferred to Sunday, but that's not the issue. The issue is, how do we witness to a saving God within a Eurocentric model? I think this is the crisis that is facing all Africans, and many other questions that fall within that. Thank you.
I'm curious, especially with what you've just said, Mfundisi, and perhaps all three of you, all guests of ours, can perhaps give some perspective on it. We are sitting here now, and we're going to be taking questions, and Masandi Utandi had it spot on that these questions ought to have been answered right now. We have pastors, we have parents, we have partners, we have peers, all claiming to be part of the same faith. Why haven't any of these P's, pastors, parents, peers, or partners, answered these questions?
I think the fundamental answer to your question, briefly, is the fact that the Christian religion was brought here as bread, as one Reverend Makatini in Swaziland said. The Christian religion was bread covered in a European plastic. And he says the major error that Africans did, we ate both the bread and the plastic, and this plastic is causing us stomach aches. And most of the time we are arguing around the plastic and not the bread.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, you know, Naya, there's an African idiom which says that be careful if a naked man offers you a shirt. And for me, there lies the problem. That we were offered a shirt by naked people, and we never asked them how come they were not wearing the shirt. And that's the problem we're having right now.
Okay.
Wow, okay, visuals. No, how do you see this program benefiting young people?
I think it's very important, like how we're saying we don't have the platform to ask questions. It's not just religion. Like I said, I come from a background where I should have been able to ask all the questions I wanted because I have a pastor right there. But it's not easy. It's not just about religion. I couldn't ask my mother, for instance, about dating. What do I date? When I look at church, there's not much options. So how do I ask my pastor, father, if I can bring a Catholic boy home? You know, it's not just religion, but it's things that we deal with as a church, as the youth. I see the Bible, for instance, saying things like, if you're depressed, you can have wine. But at church we say, don't drink. So, but I feel depressed. You know, those kind of type of questions where I could never ask my father. So I'm grateful for this platform that I can ask these questions and actually get answers.
Okay, right, I like that idea. I like the idea. So, do you imagine that outside Mfundisi, your father, all the other pastors are also not approachable, perhaps?
Oh no, they're my friends. And because they're my friends, I know that what they preach on the platform is not what they tell me in private. So that's another issue. Where do I go? And if I talk to Pastor so-and-so or Umam so-and-so, will they not then go and say, Nganyam Mfundisi te? You know, so where do I really go? Is it safe to talk to a mother in church, or should I just go to, you know, Google my question?
Mfundisi, or even when about mental, who's the target for this program? Are we talking to other Christians? Are we talking to Adventists? Are we talking to non-Christians? Who is the target for this program?
I don't know. In my mind, it's anyone who has a question, who needs answers. You know, I like where Sir Hillary Idman was asked, for example, once, why did you climb Mount Everest? And you know what was his answer? Because it was there. So I'm saying, ask the question because the platform is there. So whoever has a question, come and ask.
I have something that I'm aching to ask even now before we even wrap up our conversation from Mfundisi. Mfundisi, you said something that, you know, that sparked something in me about the text that we read that is not European, and I agree with you, I have no problem with that. But this message ought not to be a new message. Is it possible that perhaps while all the other pastors, all the other ministers, all other wise people such as yourselves knew this, they continued leaving that information in the back burner?
Many did not know, especially in Africa. You see, when the Europeans came here, they found a people who were using memory as text. Because we'd moved from where we came from, where we used stones, papyrus, and other things, which preserved the Bible, by the way. When you move from the center, a lot of things accumulate into your dimension, others get lost. And we in the South could be easily deceived by European missionaries because many of us had not known where we came from and what those we came from had as a heritage for us. And I think that a platform like this one is very necessary at this time in the history, both of the church and of the world, and of South Africa in particular, where blacks outnumber whites but are less affluent and less successful than whites, to deal with the core of the problem. Whites colonized us not only in terms of politics and economy and material things, but they inserted into this colonial model a faith they had never practiced. They had only read about.
Hence, they gave you a shirt when they were naked.
Yeah.
My point earlier. Just to illustrate the point, you know, Pastor Maponga was preaching this morning. He read the book of Hebrews chapter 12. Therefore, we have the great cloud of witness. Yeah. You know, but do you know that I know a lot of people, I mean, some of them have contacted me. When Maponga started including African ancestors as part of the cloud
of witnesses.
Yeah, we felt uncomfortable. A lot of people felt uncomfortable.
Okay, let's clarify that. Did you say we felt? Did you also feel?
No. I welcome such. Yeah, I've got my grandfather is my ancestor who is part of the cloud of witness. So I'm comfortable.
Okay.
Could I add to what Mandy's saying? Ellen White sees a vision of heaven, and she sees more blacks than whites there. Far more blacks than whites. And the General Conference of the Seventh Adventist Church gets frightened, and they hide the document for years. But here's the point. Elsewhere she says, there are many children of God in pagan cultures who will be saved when Jesus comes because they obeyed their parents there. She says that. And the moment I read that statement some years ago, I started reasoning around the 10 Commandments. And I discovered that the 5th commandment is the only one that has a blessing. Yeah. You get the point? Mm-hmm. So, in the absence of church or pastor or bishop or reverend, your father, your mother are your spiritual leaders. Thank you.
Before Oma Sande closes it off for this, I'm just bothered again. Forgive me. Forgive me for this. So, where did you get this document? If the General Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church hid the document, where did you get it from?
I read about it.
Where?
I'll have to rethink because I posted this idea, this thought on Facebook recently. Yeah. And one guy said, hey, they've removed it again.
Okay. So it was not hidden.
It looks like it was exposed, but it was also not hidden.
Okay.
Yeah. But here's the challenge, which I've confirmed. All your European pictures in Adventist literature are not about to disappear. I've been told the GC is deaf on criticisms on that.
Okay.
I suspect they fear that if Jesus were to become a black man now, whites would leave and they would lose the mandate.
Because he is not.
But he's not, certainly.
Okay.
That's why his parents lived in Egypt, not in Europe.
Yeah.
Pursued by Europeans from Italy.
Okay.
Yo, wow. So, if you don't want this program to be just about what the people in the panel here feel and believe, you need to send your questions, right? As you can see, there's a lot that can be discussed here, but we want to include you because we want your voice to be heard as well, and we don't want this panel to be self-serving. So please take any opportunity you have to send your questions through. You can contact us via Facebook, you can contact us on YouTube, you can go to our website for contact details if you don't have those two platforms, but start sending your questions through. Any question, as you've seen, any question is welcome, right? I don't think our panelists claim to have all the answers, but they will do their best to find out. And what we'll do as well is, if there's a need for a specialist, we'll invite a specialist to come and sit here and address those questions. What is bothering you? That's what's at core of this. Let's put the spotlight on what it is that's bothering you. So from me, Tandi Balfo, from Naye Lupondwane, and our esteemed guest, I cannot wait. I don't know about you. I cannot wait. Please mark this time. Invite your friends, invite your families, tag everyone you know, because it's going to be hot.
Everything on you, you are my own. Ruler of everything, you're my own. Ruler of everything, you're my own. Ruler of everything. Everything.